Now in his mid-70s, Bill Booth has composed a remarkable life, a never-ending adventure that began the day a skydiver landed on the road in front of his car more than 50 years ago.
I picked him up, took him back to the drop zone, and 2 hours later I made my first jump.
Booth was the right guy at exactly the right time.
When I started skydiving, parachutes hadn't changed in 40, 50 years. All right? It was right at the time when parachutes went from being a life-saving device or a military tool to a recreational toy.
Harnesses were uncomfortable, openings were hard, and malfunctions were common. With the heart of an engineer and the spirit of an entrepreneur, Booth went to work.
I started in a garage, just sewing equipment for myself, and now I've got 3 companies with about 150 employees.
He designed and patented a new pilot chute and a rapid release system for malfunctioning canopies. He made the sport safer, and then he wanted to make it accessible to anyone, including the elderly and the disabled. So he invented the tandem harness and opened the floodgates to recreational skydiving.
We had to develop systems. It's much more complex. Theoretically, much more dangerous than solo jumping. But the fatality rate is 500% lower. And the reason is I wrote the rules to make bad behavior illegal. And they have to do it or they'll lose the certification.
With global control of the tandem skydiving market, the world opened up for Booth. The Russians hired him to do what few thought was possible: parachute emergency workers onto the North Pole for rescue missions. He not only did it, he did it 6 times, once with his 12-year-old daughter, Katie.
For her science fair project in 8th grade, she brought back ice samples and tested for PCBs and toxins and things like this. And the girl before her was testing the effect of chlorine pools on scrunchies, you know? And then the judge said, you went to the North Pole to get ice samples to test for, poly this? And she said, yeah. And he says, you win, okay.
Booth now had the equivalent of a universal parachuting passport, and he and his wife Terry used it to turn the world into their personal playground.
After 6,500 jumps, just jumping is not that exciting to me. You want to go somewhere, and I found out really early that expedition skydiving, jumping into unusual and difficult places, is a real thrill.
Bill and Terry hiked for days in the mountains of Nepal to reach a short, dangerous airstrip at 15,000 feet. From there, it was a perilous plane ride to 30,000 feet to exit above Mount Everest, where the wind chill was minus 105. It was illegal to jump over the pyramids until an Egyptian general's son took up skydiving and invited Booth to make one of the first jumps ever over the Great Pyramid of Giza.
I saw them down there in free fall, got the parachute open, looked down, and it brought tears to my eyes.
When the Crown Prince of Dubai took up skydiving, he hosted Bill and Terry at the 7-star Burj Al Arab Hotel, loaned them his Lamborghini, and arranged a jump for Bill over Palm Island. Getting permission to skydive on Antarctica is nearly impossible, and the cost is outrageous unless you're Bill Booth. Bill and Terry made it all the way to the South Pole, where he completed the elusive Grand Slam of skydiving. All 7 continents and both poles. Booth consulted with Alan Eustace, and his company built the parachute system that Eustace used to jump from the stratosphere, setting a new world freefall record from 135,800 feet. The last 10 years have been one adventure after another: an expedition to Africa with a dip in Devil's Pool at the top of Victoria Falls, a getaway to the Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, the Jurassic Park Falls on the island of Kauai, Bora Bora, Australia, England, Mexico, the Bahamas, and many more.
I enjoy each new adventure with Bill. Each one is, you come home saying that was the best. So all of them are just been amazing.
It's amazing what these machines can do.
If he's not traveling, Booth is likely in his factory overseeing production for clients worldwide. For years, he commuted in a seaplane from his home on a spring-fed lake, making quick stops just about whenever and wherever he wanted.
I'm going to head down the river south just beyond that boat.
That was before he renovated a home on the St. Johns River, providing the opportunity to engage in one of his new passions, classic wooden boats.
I'm out in the boat every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and I'm in the airplane a couple times a week, you know, so.
If he's not traveling, Booth spends his summers on Blue Mountain Lake in the Adirondacks, living in a renovated boathouse with another wooden boat downstairs and his seaplane outside. He's built a life around the people, the places, and the things he loves, and he has no intention of slowing down.
When I wake up in the morning, before I try to get out of bed, I pretend I'm 18, you know? And I get out of bed and look in the mirror and realize I'm not. But I can do everything I did when I was 18, it just takes longer, I think. And now I appreciate stuff more. So I think society taught us that after maybe 40, your life was over and useless. And it's proved not to be true. You can still do neat stuff. And now I'm thinking the same thing I thought 10 years ago. What am I going to do now? But there's still a lot to do.